Hey everybody, another packed episode we have here, another pro episode because we have a really incredible guest. First, joining me as always, Carlo, thanks for being with us. Tell me about today's episode. You brought this one up, so I'm going to let you intro this one.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Happy to be here. Really special guest happening here. And, it's shipping, logistics, and the last mile, and how much goes into everything that we do that is like the last baton that's handed off to the shipping departments and everything, all the miracles that we make happen. Sometimes we forget about the magic that has to happen right at the end. So excited about talking about that process in general.
Yeah, it's certainly a big thankless job, but it is you're a runner, so whoever gets the baton at the end has to be the strongest, right?
Yeah.
That's the best runner. So the anchor. So here, our anchor to join us today is Sonny from our logistics department. Welcome. How's it going, man?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
And also, just so everybody knows, Sonny, it was very, very influential with helping us build out this studio here. Michelle and I went through 1,000,001 trials and tribulations. We were like, okay, who is in a band? And we literally looked over and we saw Sonny sitting there. We're like,
Sonny,
you're in a band 100%. So yeah, thanks a lot. You really helped us with a lot of the audio and the video. So we owe that to you before we jump in. But tell us about the last mile. We want to talk custom critical because Carlo mentioned what does that word even mean. But tell us about how it is that you go about getting stuff where it's got to go, whether that's raw coming to us, and then that kind of last mile going out to the venue or wherever it's got to go.
Right, absolutely. I think first and foremost, it's important just to recognize you can print the best t-shirt, you can print on time, but if you can't get the blanks and if you can't ship it out when it's done to get to the show on time, to get to the event on time, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to get it there. So it's great to be able to focus on that and work with people that realize that shipping is important and something to invest in and take super seriously. So I think just first and foremost, working with suppliers and getting the blanks and getting the best cost to get the blanks to the facility is a huge part of shipping and logistics. And when it comes down to the shirts being completed, we need to be able to look at the situation of when is the event, where's the event, what is the best method, what's the safest method, what's the most cost-effective method, and we look at all those things in order to deliver the end result to the customer.
Yeah, I like how you said, we can make the greatest product in the world and stick it in a box, but if it doesn't get to the retailer or to the venue or to the event, then in essence it's useless. So the whole role of like logistics sometimes, like I guess it kind of comes with like, oh, that's table stakes, right. Yeah, of course you have to get it there, but that could be quite complicated. Now you were showing me before how you build our load board inside of our platform, which it's all fun and games till you have thousands of orders in production.
Right.
And I think, that's like kind of like, well, sure, you could use a scratch pen and pencil and ship one order, but when you have hundreds or thousands of them, you really have to have systems in place. And so I wanted to talk about like, how you operate and organize. And then let's talk about, so you have UPS and FedEx, right? And we put that in one bin. And then you have LTL, freight, direct, and you can probably even include like box trucks or smaller trucks there. And then how we use our physical assets in the same way. And how do you go about, making all those decisions? And sometimes I watch you just shooting them out one at a time, and I'm like, wow, how does he manage all this going on at the same time? So yeah, give some of your strategies there and how you manage all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of questions there, but just to start, definitely, you stock up to keep track of all the orders and, using spreadsheets just to ensure that we have. I always have a top-down list for each location, no matter where we are, listing what is the most important, what needs to go out, and start from the top and always be working my way down to ensure that we're getting everything out we need to get out. And then from there, figuring out how we need to get it out, what the deadline is, what the in-hands is, what the original due date is. That's all information that we need to look at, stay cognizant of in order to deliver successfully for the client.
And how do you decide if we should ship conventional UPS ground 2-day, next day, or move over to LTL, either our assets, that we have, or us brokering that out? How do you make that decision?
Right, absolutely. I think a lot of clients already have an idea of how they want to ship. We also have an idea of how you should ship. And some clients don't have an idea of how they should ship. Some people don't even know how to send a letter. I know I was talking to someone from the art team. He's like, I don't even know how to address
how do
a
you
letter.
Mail something?
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't either, actually.
Everyone, it actually is harder than it seems.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's on their own level with it. But we also are happy to suggest any option. You know what I mean? But for sure, I mean, just the basic options are parcel. UPS, USPS, FedEx. Then you move on to messenger, final mile, a truck or a car, even just a car, even a bicycle to get that package down to the last on the final mile there. Then we got LTL, which is 6 pallets or less usually, give or take, usually a little bit more cost effective. And there's full loads, and then there's dedicated trucks. And we have all of those options at our disposal. Sometimes the client may have an idea, this is how I want to ship it, and there may be a better option for them depending on what the situation is. And I know you've been mentioning custom critical. Stuff happens in manufacturing, garments get delayed, a screen rips. Things can happen that cause delays. And we also do have critical, time-critical shipment providers that can put stuff in airplanes, do whatever it takes to get it to where it needs to go. We've moved stuff across the country in a matter of hours, which is amazing,
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't always want to do that, but if it calls for it and there's an emergency print and ship, then we can get it there.
And I feel like that happens, emergencies happen in this industry.
Far too often, and we might
it's music industry,
right.
And so we talk custom critical, and so that's putting it on a plane, right? That's like booking it through Southwest or trying to get some boxes under the plane, and sometimes that's limited to weight, right? I had a client that I was talking to once, and we were talking custom critical. It was a very fast turn. We had to get it somewhere, I think from Chicago to California same day, which of course only can do by plane.
Right.
And we were just throwing out the term custom critical, and the client was like, can you tell me what custom critical means? I was like, yeah.
Hold on, we'll bring on Sunny.
We're gonna get Sunny on. So custom critical is putting it on a plane and getting it there same day. So a lot of our audience is in, behind the scenes in production or merch managers and what have you. And I think a lot of us, we forget about the anchor sometimes. Like we're all worried about getting the order in, getting the artwork, getting an approval, and then I know that sometimes we forget to get the address. How important is it to make sure that everyone that's working in this crazy world to remember to also like put it in the front of their brain to say, where's it going and how many do we need? Yeah? Do we need the entire order? Do we need to split it up a little bit for the first show? And how important is it for you to have the data and information as soon as you possibly can so that you can make that magic happen?
It's super important. And, I like that you bring up the splits. We do a lot of tour splits and management of units and logistical management for tours, which is big, and managing your floor stock is important, so you can do that. But, there's even, to add on to what you said about the address being important, people will know, like, this is going to this venue in Columbus, Ohio, and we need this amount of shirts to go there. And then you're like, okay, you're printing, packing it up, you're getting the shipment ready, and you're like, okay, you go back and look, and all you know is that it's going to this venue, but it could be a slightly different address, it could be a different dock door, and then you have to go back and look at the information you have, and it turns out you don't actually have the address of where it's going, you just know the venue We don't want to, ship it blindly to that venue and hope it gets into the artist's hands. So there's a million different things that can happen, and making sure you have that address is definitely super important. Sounds simple enough,
Right.
but
just tell me where you want it to go.
Yeah.
Why don't you just tell me where you want it to go? One other thing I wanted to talk about, and this has happened, Rich. I know we've. It's probably the worst thing that ever could happen, because on the flip side, you guys are the anchor, right? Shipping is the anchor. But on the flip side, it's like a lot goes in to that order up until the point that it has to ship. And I remember Rich and I walked into the shop one time. We were a little smaller at that point, but there's a fire drill pretty much. The client's like, "Hey, where's my box? It didn't make it to the show last night." And we're like, "I don't know. We don't know what happened. There's no tracking. There's nothing. No way to find it. Obviously, it didn't leave the building." And we walk in and we look at that dreaded box sitting there,
Right on the dock.
right on the dock.
Yeah.
It's got the labels on it. It's got the packing slip on it. It didn't leave the dock, and it's like it's so like impactful. But on the flip side, we took the order. You make it happen. You produce it. You get the garment sometimes in a rush, and it doesn't go out the door, right? And it's like why it's so important that the anchor does have all the information, because it could be that lonely box sitting there that never left the dock. And so like I guess that goes to like the load board of like knowing what has to go out, right? Like keeping yourself organized, because if you don't have your information and you don't know what's going to go out, it's really important.
Right.
And so managing it with that load board, is this something that you look at that board and say you have to finish it before the day's over? Is that kind of the process of everything's on that list? No one leaves until that's clear.
That's how I like to view it. I like to say if it has a ship date of today, we're trying to get it out today. In my mind, I know there's a lot of terminology of like, oh, these are ones that we must ship. These are this and that. I don't like that, because I like if it has today's date, we're going to try to get it out today. I feel like that you make that commitment, and that's what we go by. If there's something happens and it's not needed, or it can be pushed off, and that's a discussion to be had, then that is what it is. But I definitely try to get everything out that's on the list. And like you said about that lone box sitting on the dock, we had a situation the other day. We missed our UPS truck. And I was talking to the client. I was like, we're going to miss the UPS truck because there was various situations that led to delays, addresses, this and that. We missed the UPS truck. I told the client, like, I think we're going to miss this UPS truck. We missed the truck, but we ended up pulling strings. We got someone to take it over to UPS, to the store, and scan the box in front of us. We verified that the ground had not left yet. It was UPS ground. They had it calculated. If ground leaves, it's 2 days. It's going to arrive there for the show. We had them scan the box in front of us. We're like, great, we took care of it. I emailed the client back. I'm like, no worries, we got it. We took it to the, and they're like, oh, great, thanks. Well, guess what happens the next day? I pull up the tracking just to double check the next day that we're still on track here. And it says like 2 days past when it's supposed to be there.
Oh, no.
And we're like, what the heck? So we get with our rep. We look into it. Turns out the UPS store scanned in those box, and they didn't put it on the container.
Oh, my
And
God.
that's just stuff like that happens out of your control. You can go the final mile, the extra mile to do what you need to do, and stuff is still going to happen.
Yeah.
And we have those resources to be able to mitigate when those things happen. And luckily, we checked the tracking the next morning. We could have just dropped it off and not even checked the tracking, but luckily, those situations happen, and we know how to deal with them. We ended up mitigating that situation and getting the box over there. So, that's what it's about.
Yeah, and that probably speaks to using our own assets. I mean, being able to control. You obviously can't control everything, outside of putting on the brown uniform and getting in one of the box trucks yourself. But, if it is something that has to absolutely go direct, we use one of our own assets, we get it there. But I think, morally what we're really trying to, go through is that really a lot goes into it, and like bring like a human element to shipping and logistics. And like sometimes so often it's just an email address that you're emailing back and forth, but really it's like Sonny, who like cares a lot about if whether or not that gets there, will go absolutely to the edge of the earth to get it done, even as far as taking it there yourself. So I think this was great. Thanks a lot for joining us and, kind of chopping up the last mile, teaching people about Custom Critical. And if you have any, questions or comments or anything like that for Sonny that he can answer, anything on like, hey, when do you go this route or anything, please comment on any one of our channels. But thanks a lot for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Sonny.
guys. Appreciate it.